sorry.
It's wrong. Continuation with the executive budget hearing. This is the oversight investigation portion. Chair, ready to begin.
I don't need to gavel again, do I? Okay, fine. All right, okay. Good afternoon, and welcome to, oh, no, this is not the right one. Sorry. Hold on one second. My bad. Okay. Okay. Welcome to the final FY27 executive budget hearing for the day on New York City Department of Investigation, Councilmember Linda Lee. And I'm pleased to be joined by my colleague, Councilmember Shekhar Krishnan, Chair of the Committee on Oversight and Investigations. And we have been joined by Councilmembers Ung, Brewer, and Riley. And is there anyone on Zoom? I don't think so. Okay, perfect. So welcome, Commissioner Nadia Shahada and your team, and thank you all for joining us today to answer our questions. On May 12th, 2026, the administration released the Executive Financial Plan for FY26 to 30 with a proposed fiscal 27 budget of $124.7 billion. The New York City Department of Investigation's proposed fiscal 27 budget of $53.7 million represents 0.04% of the administration's proposed FY27 budget in the executive plan. This is a decrease of $385,066 or 0.7% from the $54.1 million originally budgeted in the FY27 preliminary plan. This decrease results from several actions, primarily the reduction of vacant positions and unspent salaries. As of April 26, DOI's headcount was one less than their headcount at the end of December 2025. An 11-position vacancy reduction has been levied onto a department that has lost substantial headcount and resources over the last few fiscal years. Today, we look forward to discussing the impact this will have on the department's operations and how we can work together to explore ways to restore the resources the department needs to carry out its responsibilities. I now want to turn it over to my co-chair for this hearing, Councilmember and Chair Krishnan, for his opening statement.
Thank you so much, Chair. Good afternoon and welcome to the FY 2027 Executive Budget Hearing for the Committee on Oversight and Investigations. I'm Councilmember Shekhar Krishnan, Chair of the Committee on Oversight and Investigations. I want to thank Finance Chair Councilmember Linda Lee for joining me today, along with all my colleagues who are here in reviewing the Department of Investigation's FY 27 executive budget to understand the needs of this crucial department and the role the staff play in oversight of New York City. Commissioner, thank you so much for your testimony today and for the whole DOI team who is here as well and for your work every single day to ensure that we root out corruption and fraud in our city government and ensure that it's performing to its highest standards. I see this committee and its partnership with the Department of Investigation to be a powerful tool in rooting out corruption and a way to hold anyone or anything accountable that takes advantage of New Yorkers. DOI is vital to this effort, vital to ensuring we can protect New Yorkers from greedy corporations, bad landlords, and to root out corruption in city government. Together, we are fighting to restore trust in our government and prove to New Yorkers that our city fights for you and serves you, without fear and without favor. Over the years of the Eric Adams administration, we saw troubling amounts of corruption and misuse of city resources. And while DOI and the FBI investigated Adams on a range of accusations of bribery, conspiracy, and fraud, and while the work of DOI leading to the federal indictment that we saw was a crucial part of that effort, former Mayor Adams slashed the budget for the Department of Investigations, and we have to be very honest about that. At a time when an agency was investigating corruption at the highest levels of City Hall was depriving that very agency of the resources it needed to do its job. Yet it did it anyway, and it did it very effectively. With the limited resources that DOI was saddled with, they continued and still continue to uphold their duty to hold government accountable. But make no mistake, Adams severely cut the workforce of DOI and tried to impair their ability to properly and comprehensively oversee city agencies and root out corruption. 28% of the DOI workforce was slashed, 28%. and millions of dollars were taken away from the agency. I deeply believe that this agency needs the funding to be able to do its job and to be the important independent arm of government that they are. I remain concerned that the executive budget continues to require workforce reductions for vital positions and an over-reliance on asset forfeiture funds of a years-old city time case that will run dry most likely in 2 years. It is crucial that this city budget brings in more funding and resources for DOI to correct from the years from which this agency saw a reduction in the workforce and its funding. Point blank, DOI needs more resources and funding to operate, to do its job, and to fulfill its sacred independent mission in city government. Additionally, this morning, I joined Speaker Menon and Councilmember Brewer in calling for an additional $4.5 million for DOI for the 9/11 investigation so that they have the resources they need to bring accountability and answers to what the Giuliani administration knew about the air quality and presence of toxins following the horrific attack on the World Trade Center on September 11, 2001. Having this funding in place will enable DOI to complete its investigation as to the knowledge of city government when it came to toxins in the air, and will enable DOI to have the resources to release all the documents in regards to this investigation. We need to restore the department's headcount and funding so that it can continue to provide comprehensive oversight without triaging, without pulling from other staff, without scrambling for resources. An agency with the critical mission that this one has needs the tools to do its job. I look forward to hearing about DOI's budget requests and working together to ensure a fully funded agency. I know the Mamdani administration and City Hall share this goal, and I look forward to our council and City Hall working together to making sure our final budget delivers on increased resources for this agency. I want to thank our Oversight Investigations Committee staff for their hard work, our financial analyst, Owen Katowski, policy analysts Erica Cohen and Alex Yablon, Committee Counsel Nicole Kata, and the incredible Oversight Investigations Division. I also want to thank my staff, Chanel Martinez, Victoria Opperman, and Hunter DeVinagracia. And I would like to welcome, of course, again, Commissioner Shahada and her leadership team here today. I'm now going to pass it back to Chair Lee.
Great, thank you, Chair. So just a couple housekeeping items before we start. So because of the shortened timeline for our budget hearings, we are going to have public testimony on one day, all day. So please feel free to join us. It should be fun. We'll try to make it as lively as possible. So Wednesday, June 10th, starting at 9:30 a.m. Wednesday, June 10th, starting at 9:30 a.m. If you guys know anyone in the public that would like to sign up to testify, please make sure they do so. And with that, actually, I'll pass it off to Brian Sarfo, our amazing committee counsel, to administer the oath.
Good afternoon. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this committee and to respond honestly to council member questions, Commissioner Shahada? You may begin.
I think the light, is the light on? Does it turn red?
Thank you, Sergeant.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Lee and the Committee on Finance, and Chair Krishnan and the Committee on Oversight and Investigations. My name is Nadia Shahata, and I'm the Commissioner of the New York City Department of Investigation. I'm honored to present this important testimony on DOI's fiscal year 2027 executive plan as I mark my 6th week as DOI Commissioner. It has been an exhilarating and informative time for me as I meet the impressive DOI staff, connect with the agency's prosecutorial partners, and delve into the important work that is ongoing at the agency. As an investigative fact-finding agency, DOI's mission is to prevent and expose corruption, fraud, and other wrongdoing that undermines the city, depletes precious public resources, and compromises the faith and trust of New Yorkers in their municipal government. The agency is a powerhouse, conducting both civil and criminal investigations, working with prosecutors to hold wrongdoers accountable, and issuing recommendations for reforms that strengthen city government operations. The heart of the agency is DOI's extremely dedicated staff, its administrative and operational personnel, investigators, attorneys, auditors, IT specialists, and so many more. In my brief time at DOI so far, I have been inspired by their dedication and extremely hard work to uphold integrity and protect the city from the corrosive impact of corruption. When I arrived in late April, it was immediately clear that my priority needed to be digging into the agency's dire budget situation.
Let's try another one.
My assessment is that the funding proposed for DOI in the fiscal year 2027 executive plan is not enough to sustain DOI's current operations. The proposed $53.7 million budget is $2.1 million less than the fiscal year 2026 adopted budget and approximately $12.8 million less in baseline funding compared to fiscal year 2020, reflecting over $8.3 million in PS baseline reductions. Due to years of successive budget cuts, virtually all investigative and operational units across the agency remain severely understaffed. DOI's budgeted headcount, including city tax levy and intra-city funded staff, as well as employees on loan from other agencies, has dropped from 588 staff in fiscal year 2020 to 444 in fiscal year 2027, resulting in 144 fewer DOI positions available to fight corruption, waste, and inefficiency in New York City. I have met with the Mayor's Chief Counsel and the Director of the Office of Management and Budget to outline these stark realities, and I am grateful that they took the time to listen and understand how the budget deficiencies are impacting DOI. It is not an overstatement to describe this current moment as pivotal for the agency. I am pleased to report that these discussions have been very constructive and encouraging. I am confident that City Hall shares our view on the vital importance of DOI's mandate and understands our current budget situation, including our need for additional funding to stabilize DOI and ensure the agency can continue to fulfill its crucial oversight mandate. I hope and expect that City Hall and the City Council will properly address our need for additional funding in the adopted budget. As city officials continue to weigh DOI's budgetary concerns and decide how best to address them, I want to be transparent with the Council and the public on the budgetary landscape faced by DOI with the current cuts set forth in the executive plan, as I have been with the Mayor's office. DOI will need approximately $6 million to stabilize its budget for the next fiscal year. This includes approximately $4.53 million to restore other than personnel services, or OTPS funds, that have been cut in prior years, approximately $1.14 million to reverse the recent 50% vacancy reduction that was imposed across the board for all city agencies, regardless of size or need, in the executive plan, and $290,520 to fund 5 new entry-level investigator positions to sustain DOI's core operations. In addition, DOI requires an additional $4 million to conduct the investigation mandated by the City Council regarding what prior mayoral administrations knew about environmental toxins produced by the September 11, 2001 terrorist attacks on the World Trade Center. This funding will pay for a third-party vendor with specialized expertise to assist with this records-intensive investigation. The vendor would report to and be managed by DOI. To be clear, if DOI does not receive additional funding, I will need to move forward with some very difficult decisions that will have a tangible impact on our operations and ability to meet our anti-corruption mandate. Without the additional PS funding, DOI will need to eliminate defunded lines and key vacancies across critical areas that include executive leadership, legal oversight, frontline investigative squads, and vital technical support staff. DOI will also need to decrease incoming salary levels for certain remaining vacancies, which also has an impact on the experience level and skill that DOI will be able to recruit and hire. Recognizing the challenging budgetary landscape faced by the city, the funds I am requesting are strictly limited to providing stabilization funding for DOI to ensure it can fulfill its essential operations and conduct the council-mandated World Trade Center investigation. At this time, I am not requesting further investments in the agency to meaningfully enhance its anti-corruption capabilities. This limited funding request reflects my deep concern that further cuts, as contemplated in the executive budget, will impact DOI's core functions. This concern is not new. Under its prior leadership, DOI rang the alarm bell on its budget needs for years without avail. Citywide budget reductions have stretched this small agency, which is already running a lean operation, to its limit. Bluntly, the fiscal year 2027 executive budget does not provide the funding that DOI needs to adequately and fully meet its mission. Given recent positive and constructive discussions I've had with City Hall, I am hopeful this will be rectified in the adopted budget. My testimony today will walk you through the proposed fiscal year 27 executive budget, the tangible impact of the proposed budget cuts, and the roles that forfeiture and integrity monitorships play in our budget and the associated challenges with each. DOI's $53.7 million fiscal year 2027 executive budget includes $29.3 million in personal services, or PS funds, which primarily fund staff salaries, and $21.4 million in city-funded OTPS, which pays for DOI's lease obligations and integrity monitorships. This OTPS funding will be supplemented with $3 million from DOI's forfeiture funds, for a total OTPS spend of $24.4 million. We have been supplementing our budget significantly with forfeiture funding, particularly for OTPS items, such as computers, laptops, vehicles, trainings, and office equipment. I will describe our forfeiture funding in more detail shortly. The current budgeted headcount for DOI-funded employees in fiscal year 2027 is only 282 positions. 7 of those positions are staff for an entirely separate entity, the Commission to Combat Police Corruption, that is not part of DOI, but which is nonetheless funded through DOI. This brings down the budgeted headcount for DOI-funded employees working on DOI matters to just 275 positions. An additional 162 intra-city and on-loan staff report to DOI for a total of 437 employees who work on DOI matters. The fiscal year 2027 executive budget also contains nearly $3.4 million for which DOI simply acts as a pass-through entity. In other words, these funds do not support DOI's internal staff or operations in any way. Specifically, $855,000 is allocated for the separate entity, CCPC, while the remaining $2.6 million funds an integrity monitor that reports to DOI and is monitoring the construction of the borough-based jails. Despite these budget constraints, DOI has still sought savings as mandated by the Mayor's Office. In collaboration with the City Department of Citywide Administrative Services, and OMB, we assessed our space footprint as part of a citywide space savings initiative and relocated CCPC from leased space at 17 Battery Place to DOI headquarters at 180 Maiden Lane. This saved the city approximately $157,700 annually. Separately, DOI rented one of its floors at 180 Maiden Lane to the New York State Office of Court Administration, which generates approximately $1.8 million annually in lease expense reimbursement to the city. However, OMB does not credit these lease savings towards the cuts it has mandated in DOI's budget. More importantly, so far in fiscal year 2026, DOI investigations have resulted in financial recoveries of more than $6 million that have been collected by the city. These recoveries are case dependent, and DOI cannot predict from year to year how much those financial recoveries will be. But in fiscal year 2026 so far, DOI's work has added $6 million to the city's general fund. Those financial recoveries are on top of the public funds that have been protected as a result of our investigations and integrity monitorships, such as the $5.07 million in public funds saved as part of the asylum seeker monitorship. That monitorship found an array of vendor invoicing errors that included mistaken double billing and overpayment of advance deposits and other anomalies. And we have looked for opportunities to develop new avenues to fight fraud and save the city money. Last week, Corporation Counsel Steve Banks and I engaged in preliminary discussions on ways DOI and the Law Department can work collaboratively to recoup city funds lost in non-criminal cases, including through civil fraud cases under the False Claims Act. It is this sort of innovative thinking that sends a strong and unified message that the city as a whole is standing up to address corruption and fraud on all available fronts. In the executive budget, OMB has imposed $1.06 million in one-time cuts in FY 2026 and $1.14 million in baseline cuts starting in FY 2027. In fiscal year 2026, the executive budget cuts $500,000 in PS funding for the vacancy reduction mandate, reducing DOI's budgeted headcount by 11 in the baseline. It also cuts $550,000 in a one-time PS accrual as projected by OMB, as well as $15,691 in a one-time savings for heat, light, and power. In fiscal year 2027, the executive budget cuts $1.14 million in baseline PS funding for the vacancy mandate. To meet these cuts, DOI will have to defund and defer hiring for 9 positions to satisfy the 50% vacancy reduction mandate, including critical senior-level investigatory and legal positions. This action will further deplete investigative and operational squads across the agency. DOI will also have to forgo essential staffing made as part of our prior new needs request to OMB, specifically the restoration of 14 vacant positions at $1.4 million. DOI previously utilized the funds for these positions to offset serious recruitment, hiring, and retention challenges caused by prior budget reductions and the city's 2-for-1 hiring limitation. We will also need to forgo a request for 17 baseline positions for investigative and operational staff that include data analysts, confidential and background investigators, and auditors, among others. In fact, DOI has already reduced this request to 5 entry-level investigators in our most recent new needs request to OMB for the adopted budget. In addition, DOI requested funding for the mandated World Trade Center toxins investigation in the November and January plans, which OMB deferred to the incoming administration's review. A request for $4 million for this investigation has been resubmitted for consideration in the adopted budget. DOI cannot begin this council-mandated work until necessary funding is secured. With respect to forfeiture funds, federal and state law allow the profits of criminal activity to be forfeited to the government and shared with the investigating agencies that worked on the case, with the general guideline that these funds must support law enforcement activities. The majority of DOI's forfeiture funds are the result of partnering with federal prosecutors on criminal investigations, and there are specific Department of Justice rules that dictate how forfeiture funds may and may not be spent. For instance, forfeiture funds may not be used to fund salaries for permanent staff positions, but may be used for training or law enforcement technology. Specifically, the guidelines require that forfeiture funds supplement, not supplant, DOI's budget. Importantly, the city is prohibited from making budgetary decisions based on the availability of DOI's federal forfeiture funds. In other words, the city cannot decide to cut DOI's budget based on the amount of forfeiture funds DOI receives, with the expectation that forfeiture will cover the budgetary gap. Most importantly, if the city were to consider federal forfeiture funds in determining DOI's budget, per DOJ guidelines, DOI could lose its access to the funding. Over the last several years, DOI has reprogrammed federal forfeiture funds, all in accordance with DOJ guidelines, to manage mandated budget cuts from the city, specifically related to OTPS items such as updating the agency's computer infrastructure, including our case management system, as well as purchasing computers and laptops for agency staff. Since fiscal year 2023, DOI has spent nearly $19 million by reprogramming its forfeiture dollars to supplement DOI's budget and support the agency's essential law enforcement operations. In fiscal year 2026, DOI plans to spend an additional $11 million by reprogramming its forfeiture funds in accordance with DOJ guidelines. But this type of reprogramming is not sustainable in the long term because forfeiture funds are finite and there is no way to predict how much forfeiture funding will come into DOI in the future from our investigations. And again, it is not permissible for the city to make budgeting decisions based on the availability of forfeiture funds. Put simply, the city must start to properly fund DOI before these funds run out. To reduce reliance on forfeiture funds, DOI has requested approximately $4.5 million in OTPS funding restoration in the adopted budget to pay for core critical needs, such as computer software maintenance and subscriptions and maintenance of DOI's cybersecurity and data storage networks, which are technology items that should not be deferred. DOI's integrity monitorship program is a cornerstone of the agency's anti-corruption work. Integrity monitorships allow the city to have real-time oversight of vendors with integrity issues and of large-scale, high-dollar city projects. The oversight is provided by outside integrity monitors that report to and are managed by DOI. Rehabilitative monitorships permit the city to enter into or to continue contracts with companies that might otherwise be precluded from doing business with the city due to identified integrity issues, but that city agencies have determined are necessary for continuity or provision of city services. In these cases, vendors pay for the monitorships. Programmatic monitorships proactively help the city to oversee large-scale city projects, such as the Asylum Seeker Initiative and the borough-based jail construction, with the goal of ensuring compliance with city regulations and realizing cost savings. In these cases, the city pays for the integrity monitors. The funds for these monitors are included as part of DOI's budget, but all of the money goes directly to the integrity monitors. None of it supports DOI's staffing or resources. Significantly, this funding artificially inflates DOI's budget, lending the false impression that it supports DOI's operations and staffing. Today's testimony underscores the significance that budgetary independence would have on DOI. In fact, DOI advocated for this reform, among others, before the City Commission to Strengthen Local Democracy, which compiled a host of prospective charter revisions, including budgetary independence for DOI. DOI plans to submit the same proposal to the Mayor's Committee on Government Efficiency, which was just announced last week. Funding DOI at an appropriate percentage of the city budget and giving DOI control over its hiring, for example, would safeguard DOI's independence and reinforce the city's commitment to prevent fraud, waste, and abuse. Budget independence would reduce the risk of politically motivated retaliation against DOI or the appearance of such retaliation by reducing our funding. And it would finally provide DOI with the financial resources to fully oversee a city with a $124.7 billion budget, more than 300,000 employees, and billions of dollars in capital construction. In the meantime, DOI requests the city restore $6 million to its budget in order to maintain the agency's core operations and $4 million spread over 2 fiscal years to fund the World Trade Center investigation. I want to thank the Mayor's Chief Counsel and the OMB Budget Director for hearing and understanding my concerns, and I'm very thankful, as well as hopeful, that additional funding to stabilize DOI's ability to conduct its vital oversight mandate is under active discussion and consideration at City Hall. I also want to thank council members for your focus on DOI's budget and for providing me the opportunity to walk you through the numbers. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. We've been also joined by council members Aviles, Carr, and Zhuang. So just out of curiosity, and I know this is something that Councilmember Brewer had worked on also, but why did you try applying for the waiver? Or why did you not get the waiver if you applied for it?
The waiver from the savings
Yes.
target? We did
We
apply
did.
for it.
I mean, you did.
Yes.
Okay. What was the reason that they said no?
I believe some of that happened before I joined
Okay.
DOI, so I'm not sure that what reasoning was provided, but we were not exempted from it.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I mean, just given the cuts that have happened to the department and looking into the future, just wondering how we can prevent this from happening because it is a city agency that, does robust oversight and also provides revenue for the city as well. So this is why I'm just wondering if there's any ways that you're looking at to protect staffing from sort of this budget cut in the future. Not budget cut, but yeah.
That is why, we would welcome changes to the city charter that made our budget truly independent, because this concern happens every year, and given the important oversight mandate that DOI has, we believe budget independence is the best way to ensure that we're funded properly.
Right. And just going to the savings portion, so looking back to previous investigations the department has done, can you provide an example of how DOI investigations have saved money for the city?
Sure. As I mentioned, in fiscal year 26, to date, we collected $6 million in restitution for the city. And as an example, in October 2025, a defendant was ordered to pay $1.6 million in restitution after he inflated invoices and overbilled the city in contracts relating to repairing and maintaining fire alarm systems. So that is just one specific example of how we bring back money to the city, and that goes into the city's general fund.
Right.
In other non-quantifiable ways, I think we also save the city money by deterring corruption through our oversight. And the asylum seeker monitorship is one way where we actually are able to quantify it. And there we identified about $5 million in mistaken overbilling that the city was able to recoup.
Okay, so $5 million in the asylum seeker contracts. Interesting. I'm sure there's a lot of others that you can give us a list of. And I mean, if you can also provide other examples, that would be great in terms of
Yes,
follow-up.
we can certainly get back to you on
Okay.
that.
Because I think it's important to note, because this is exactly why these positions are important. So I'm just trying to understand some of the headcount reductions. So can you also produce a list of titles you believe work to accomplish savings for the city and work with the administration on exemptions as well?
Yes, in response to that, I would say I believe the entire investigative division of DOI is revenue generating, in the sense that it's these are the people conducting these investigations where we get restitution and forfeiture for the city, and also working to prevent corruption through our policy and procedure recommendations, and that includes confidential investigators, auditors, financial analysts, and so forth.
Okay, great. And then moving into headcount reduction, executive plan included a headcount reduction of 11 positions. What vacant positions are being removed from in this plan?
So if nothing changes and we're required to move forward with cutting 11 vacancies, a few of those will be vacancies that are already defunded, but it will require us to cut 9 funded vacancies or previously funded vacancies. And this presents some very difficult decisions on my part because we currently have, for example, 3 important vacancies at the executive level. We currently are operating with an acting general counsel, an acting chief of investigations, and we've also recently, the person who was filling the role of deputy commissioner for compliance, and also served as our EEO officer, recently left. So that is also a vacant position.
Can I just ask a clarifying
Yeah.
question? So when you said 9 funded vacancies, those are meaning positions that they're currently staffing in, or those are?
They're vacant, but were before the executive budget came out, were funded positions.
Got it. Okay.
And so we won't be able to hire
For the
9
positions.
positions. We're
Right.
currently trying to maneuver, and we have various scenarios of how we would do that, but if we were required to go forward with that may, for example, include simply not having a deputy commissioner for compliance and kind of putting all that person's responsibilities in other areas as is currently being done temporarily now. But that's not obviously a decision that I would like to have to make, and hopeful that we can avoid that in
Right.
the adopted budget.
And how, I mean, I know the answer, but if you could give more details in terms of how this impact, what kind of impact this is going to have on the investigations that you're conducting. And then I have a follow-up question after that, but.
Sure. I'll start by saying, since I've been at DOI the past 6 weeks, I have been incredibly impressed by the hard work and dedication of every single staff member I've met with. That being said, for years, they have been asked to do more with less, and that takes a toll on morale and just frankly the ability to make sure you're properly staffing every investigation you're working on. They've done an amazing job, but at a certain point, you get to a point where you have to make your triaging no longer is sufficient, and you have to make decisions about what investigations you can and cannot open.
And I guess to that point, I mean, obviously we would want to see a restoration in a lot of the positions in the budget, but let's just say that doesn't end up happening, unfortunately. What is the plan B that you have are you leveraging staff from other agencies to assist with the investigations, and have those conversations started?
Yeah, so we always, as a general practice, in our investigations, one of the things we do is present cases to prosecutors' offices for our criminal cases early, so that we are maximizing the resources we have available. Generally, those prosecutors' offices also have investigators, and we're working with law enforcement partners at the state and federal level. And so that is something we are doing now and will continue to do. We have on-loan staff from other agencies. The number of those is generally governed by a memorandum of understanding with those agencies. And so we have those in place, and those are certainly very helpful. But if we are required to make these cuts, then we are going to be required to make some very difficult decisions that I am concerned will affect core operations.
Yeah. And obviously, on the council side, when we've been talking about savings, we want to make very clear that this is not something that we want to see as a negative when it comes to actually doing the work and providing services. And so this is helpful to know. And the $6 million to stabilize the budget for the next fiscal year, is that sufficient? What's the ideal number?
That's the stabilization number. We are cognizant of the financial and budgetary condition that the city as a whole is facing, and so we've really tried to focus on what is necessary to keep our core operations going and not to ask for more than that at this time. And so that's where we have come up with the $6 million number. It would allow us to not have to defund 9 vacancies, and also start to get on a path where we're not over-relying on forfeiture funds for our
Right.
basic operations, as well as a minimal request for 5 entry-level confidential investigators to start helping stabilize our investigative squads.
Okay. And just lastly, before I pass it to the chair, in terms of the lease, I know that you said that the move saved approximately $157,700 annually, but what's the total portion of the department's budget for the lease? Can you update us on that cost?
Yeah, I don't know the exact percentage because I'm not very good at math, but it's about $18.5 million is the number on the lease. So it's the vast majority of our OTPS, city tax levy OTPS is spent on the lease, and one integrity monitorship for the next year. So after that, I think we have about for just a few $100,000 left, and to operate the agency, and which is why we have had to repurpose forfeiture funds to allow us to fulfill our mission.
Okay. And then are there areas like with technology, IT needs, all of those things in the OTPS lines that you would be able to centralize with the admin in terms of using, you know, leveraging with other agencies to save costs there for your department? Sharing of, I guess, resources.
I would have to get back to you on some specifics on that. I know that there is, because of our independent oversight mandate, there is some aspects of our work that we need to make sure are not accessible to other agencies. But certainly where there's an ability to do that, we're happy to look into that.
Okay. And lastly, are the costs for the lease separated out when coming up with the dollar value of expected savings?
I'm sorry, could you rephrase the question?
So basically, how has the lease being included in your budget impact sort of the other areas that you would potentially be able to use it for?
Well, the lease is part of the PEG, and so that actually makes the PEG much more difficult for us because the lease is not excluded from it, and that is the largest part of our OTPS budget.
Interesting. Okay. Okay, I'm going to pass it to Councilmember Krishnan, Chair Krishnan.
Thank you so much, Chair Lee. There were just 2 points before I start my questions that I wanted to really agree with you on. I think one is it is way past time that the city properly fund DOI so that the funds don't run out and you all can do your mission. I agree with that completely. And I also agree that there is a fundamental conflict between an agency tasked with a very independent mission being dependent on a city budget and budget process that it will vary year to year, mayor to mayor. So I fully support looking at ways that we can, going forward, reform the charter to make sure you all, as an independent agency, have an independent funding process too. Chair Lee hit a number of the points and questions, but I wanted to clarify a few things because there's a lot of information, and I want to really just underscore the critical need for funding that you all have. So it's my understanding, Commissioner, right, that you all need $6 million in funding in this year's budget just to stabilize. That's not new needs, that's not new programs. It's $6 million just to stabilize current operations and current staff on payroll.
It's just under $6 million. Included within that is 5 new investigators, entry-level investigators, but that's really to stabilize things currently.
That's right. Okay. And currently, the executive budget, I think you mentioned, has 2.1 million less than last year's budget. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe so.
And 12.8 million less in baseline funding than going back several years at this point, right? Taking into account the pegs from the Adams years and everything.
Yes.
That makes sense? Okay. And then in total, really what we're talking about for DOI is you all have a staff of 275 positions at this point, which is down from about 365 4 years ago. Is that right?
In DOI funded lines, yes.
DOI funded, so from 365 4 years ago to 275 over the course of the Adams administration as a result of the pegs over those years.
Yes.
Got it. And is it your testimony that after DOI funds its basic needs, including this lease that we have as well, how much exactly are you all left over with if you don't include asset forfeiture funds?
So historically, I think it's been about $175,000 to $200,000. I think for fiscal year 26, it's a little bit more than that. I believe it's $400,000 because we did get some additional money for lease obligations, and I think moving CCPC to our headquarters. But
So, sorry, go
a
ahead.
few $100,000.
So just to be clear, after all the fundamental basic needs are taken care of, the agency only has between 175,000, give or take, to at most 400,000 to run all of its operations.
Yes.
And how much are you all planning to draw down from asset forfeiture funding for fiscal 26 and fiscal 27 to supplement, but also support core operations, given the very little funding you all have left over?
So we anticipate for fiscal 2026, it'll be approximately $11 million. We have $3 million currently dedicated as a forfeiture spend for fiscal year 2027, but if we don't, we expect that to go up, and particularly if we don't receive additional city tax levy OTPS funds.
And if that's the case, at what point do you foresee the asset forfeiture funding running out completely? Because as I understand it, it's coming from one specific case from many years ago.
If we continue at the current rate of spend, it's approximately two years, at the very outset 3 years, but in the 2 to 3 year range.
So in 2 years, DOI would not have asset forfeiture funding to supplement and support its core operations.
Based on the current amount of asset forfeiture funds we have, yes.
And all you'd have left at that point is the several hundred thousand, assuming nothing changes, all you'd have left to run the entire agency in 2 years would be the several $100,000 in funding that you have left after fundamental payments like rent and things like that. Am I right?
That's correct.
So you testified as well about given the current cost savings mandates, and you spoke about the vacancy positions and other positions. Can you just give a total amount of, with the cost saving mandates in place and the pegs over the years that have happened and the cuts that have happened, what in total, how many positions are going to be affected by the efforts to meet the cost-saving mandates in place? You broke it up over 9 positions, vacancies, but I'm just looking for a total number of how many positions would be affected in one way or another.
Well, we'd have to cut 9. So currently, before the executive budget came out, there were 9 positions that we would have been able to fill that we will now have to cut. And so, as I mentioned, this is particularly challenging right now because of the vacant positions we have are some critical positions in executive leadership, in very important IG positions, including the IG for the NYPD, things that we are, trying to figure out how we will manage if we don't receive additional funds.
So 9 positions affected, and then if you all don't get the $6 million to stabilize, how many positions overall would be affected? Is it just the 9, or is it? Are there? I think you mentioned as well there would be potential cuts to salaries of executive positions. I mean, what are we talking about overall? Is the impact of not getting the funding that you all need?
Well, I think what we would do is the idea of lowering the salaries for certain positions is in order to try to minimize the number of vacant positions we have to cut and yet still meet the target number. I don't have a precise number for you of how many positions we would have to do. We are kind of going through different scenarios, but I will say we are hopeful based on our discussions with City Hall that we won't have to make some of these decisions because we are hopeful that additional funding will be provided in the adopted budget.
And I want to get to that in a second too, but the point I'm trying to make is it seems to me that it's beyond the 9 positions that 9 position vacancy that would be affected. It seems to me in order to avoid losing those positions, a number of other positions and those salary lines could potentially be affected too. Am I right?
Potentially, yes. And I would say the whole agency would be affected because we would be asking our dedicated and talented staff to be, again, doing more with less and working on higher caseloads and just being required to, conduct more investigations with fewer staff.
Yes, thank you. And that's kind of what I was getting at too. It seems to me the whole agency in one form or another would be affected. So now at this point, how have the conversations been? I think you indicated there's been some positive conversations, but how have they been with OMB and the mayor so far? To the extent you can share any sense of what trajectory we might be looking at from the executive budget?
So I don't have any specific numbers to share with you. What I can say is that I'm confident that the mayor's office understands the situation we're in. I've spoken plainly about it here at the council, and I've spoken about it in the same way with the mayor's office. And I believe they understand the importance of DOI's mandate and mission, and the challenges we are facing. And I'm confident that they will address it in the adopted budget, but I don't have any specifics to share.
And so we're looking at right now a headcount of 275, down from 365 before. What do you believe would be the appropriate headcount and budget needed for your organization to run seamlessly?
Well, to run seamlessly, I'm happy to talk a little bit about a process that the agency underwent under the prior commissioner, where we really, as part of the work to provide a proposal to the commission to strengthen local democracy on the charter revision proposals, that included a minimum budget for DOI, and as part of that process, DOI went through a planning exercise to estimate an optimal staffing level for the department, going unit by unit to project an ideal staffing number, and the projected ideal for investigative staff was 412 positions, for operations staff 98 positions, and executive and training staff 48 positions, which would bring the total DOI funded headcount to 585. I'm not expecting in this budget
Sure.
landscape that is something that we could realistically expect. Again, I'm focused now on stabilization, and if our new needs request is approved for the adopted budget, our core headcount on DOI funded lines would be 318 DOI funded positions. We have, if we factor in 142 on loan personnel from paid for by other city agencies, then our total budgeted headcount would be 460 if our new needs request is accepted.
Mm-hmm. And it seems to me, wouldn't you agree that right now the current headcount at DOI is give or take about half of where you all would want to be ideally, 265 versus the 580 that you indicated. It seems like we're, given all these cuts over the years, about halfway from what you would fully need in an ideal level to fully fund the agency.
Yes,
Would you agree with
approximately.
that? I think you touched upon this before too, but when we talk about your agreements with other city agencies, as you do work and share resources, when MOUs are up for renewal, how do you make sure that shared resources are stable and not reduced by agency savings exercises?
Well, there's no mechanism to force agencies to provide us with a certain level of funding or to not cut their resources they share with DOI as part of their savings exercise. We rely on explaining the importance of DOI's work, our record of achievements, and the productive relationships we've fostered with the relevant agencies to make our case. I would suggest that a more stable way to manage DOI's resources would be to provide the staffing and resources directly to DOI's budget and not have to rely on discretionary MOUs for
Right.
headcount.
Right. And have there been, are there a certain number of positions, a minimum number that other departments are obligated to fund? Have there been reductions in the MOUs for the allowable staff that other departments are obligated to fund? Is there no way at all to protect, there's no minimum number, no sort of, requirements on other agencies to obligate them to fund certain positions or work with you all to make sure they're funded in some capacity?
So there's been one MOU where we had a reduction in headcount. That's the MOU with DEP for staff who monitor the BT2 water project upstate. There was a loss of 2 headcount there, but that was attributable to workflow and not a budget consideration. In other MOUs, for example, with DOC, DOH, or DOB, we have thankfully not seen reduced headcount, but it's worth noting that the intra-city funding they give us has not kept pace with the actual salaries paid to the employees. Therefore, in certain cases, DOI has had to supplement the intra-city funding with our own PS dollars to meet the required salaries. So to give you an example, there's one staffer funded through an H&H MOU who makes $123,000, but we only received $95,000 in intra-city funds. Another staffer on the DEP MOU makes $128,000, but we receive only $85,000 from DEP. So DOI has to make up that difference out of our own PS dollars.
And a few other questions that I have too before turning it over to our colleagues. We touched on this a bit before, but when positions are affected, whether it's vacant lines or existing positions, doesn't seem to me, and as you testified to, the impacts are much broader than this, the specific number of positions on the table, but it could actually affect staff retention too, more broadly speaking. Does the department have the funding to promote staff? Are there opportunities for promotions, increases in salaries? If not, are these requests you are working on to explore how to achieve that goal? How do you think about staff retention more broadly?
So I agree with you that promotion and growth opportunities are essential for hiring and retention. At this point, we do not have funding to promote staff, and it's my understanding that OMB does not approve merit-based promotions and raises. DOI has 25 vacancies as of May 27, 2026. However, we only have funding to support 16 of those vacancies. In the past, we have made requests to OMB for additional funding. In the past administration, we made such requests for promotions and staff retention, and we did not receive any funding from OMB. All of our retention efforts that DOI has made have been self-funded by reallocating resources from vacancies. And in the last administration, even though OMB did not allocate new funding for these efforts, the approval to be able to use our existing funding still took over a year to receive. We have, several years ago, DOI determined that our significant attrition in our investigative ranks was largely due to an absence of a path to promotion and salaries that are not competitive with other public sector opportunities or the private sector. And as a result, DOI implemented a plan that gave raises and promotions to individual confidential investigators based on merit to appropriately reflect each of their levels of experience, responsibility, and performance, and address pay disparity among our deputy inspector generals, all of whom generally did the same type of work, had similar expertise, and perform at comparable levels, but were paid at different salaries. And we created a clear promotional path for investigators. But again, this was, in order to do that, we had to repurpose funds from vacancies. So we did not receive additional funding for that. But clearly it's an issue, and we've tried to address it, but it's going to continue to be an issue, and we don't have additional funding to continue to be able to address it.
It's very concerning, and I think, for lack of a better word, it seems like the agency is robbing Peter to pay Paul. In other words, pulling from one area to keep staff and pay for increased salary needs in the other. Isn't that the case?
I think that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
So what does OMB approve? They're not approving merit-based promotions or pay increases. So what are they approving? It sounds like just a transfer of money from one part of the agency to another to fund some of these initiatives?
That's, I believe, what happened in the past administration, that DOI sought approval for promotions and raises, was not provided that approval, and then sought approval to use funding for vacancies, for certain existing vacancies, to repurpose that to use it for promotions and raises.
Wow. And I think the point is well made too, that it does not allow the agency to remain competitive. These are positions that are, you're competing with many other parts of the legal sector and otherwise, and investigative sector. It really raises serious questions about how you all can stay competitive if you can't pay well or you can't promote your staff.
Just on that note, I would
yeah.
add, in an effort to provide training opportunities for our investigative staff, DOI developed in-house an investigative officer training program known as IOTA, and it allows investigators to become certified peace officers. It trains them up on investigative procedures and tools, And it's been a very successful program that has resulted in, highly trained entry-level investigators once they've gone through that program. And because we are not able to fund raises and promotions, what we often find is that these investigators that we've spent time and effort training are then going after a short amount of time and being hired by other federal and state agencies. And so that's also a challenge where we're investing appropriately in ensuring we have a staff capable of conducting the important investigations that we work on. But because of our funding issues, we're often not able to keep that staff long-term.
Right. And my last two questions are, DOI publishes excellent reports that uncover a lot of issues when it comes to corruption or accountability or compliance with the laws that we have. As we had an earlier this year, your sanctuary report on the compliance of city agencies with sanctuary laws, NYPD and DOC, was very helpful. I imagine that you coming in as a new commissioner will want to continue publishing reports, publish more reports perhaps. Do you see that being affected by the lack of funding? If funding continues at this level and you don't receive an increase, do you all see an ability to be able to continue to increase the amount of reporting you all are doing?
Well, first, I agree that public reports are incredibly important, and I think overall transparency by DOI is incredibly important. I think it's integral for us to be letting the public know what it is we're working on, what our investigations have found, and to make policy and procedure recommendations to improve the functioning of city government. I do intend to prioritize the publication of public reports, but as with everything else DOI does, it is affected by the budget and the funding we receive. Public reports in particular are time-intensive efforts, and when our staff is cut, again, that provides less staff to work on everything, including issuing public reports.
And my final question, and I'm sure Councilmember Brewer will ask more about this too, but we've got a budget request for about $4.5 million for the 9/11 investigation. If that money is not in the budget, do you all see your ability will you be able to complete the report? Will you be able to finish the investigation or even hire the outside vendor you had in mind? What will happen if that money is not in the budget for this critical investigation?
So first of all, the good news is I think we can do it for a little bit less. We can do it for $4 million. That's the best and final offer we received from the vendor. So that is what we've requested in our new needs for the adopted budget. It's $4 million. But without that $4 million,
we'll try to get you to 4.5 anyway. You need the money for other stuff too.
Well, we'll take it. But without that money, we will not be able to conduct that investigation, and we would like to receive that money so we can get to work.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Chair.
Sorry, just really quickly following up on that. Is there a way to, I don't know what the legal parameters are around this, but is there a way to do public-private partnerships either with other law firms, have MOUs in place to be creative when thinking through the cost?
I'll have to get back to you on that. I don't
Okay.
know the answer off the top of my head.
Okay. Councilmember Brewer, followed by Councilmember Zhuang.
Thank you. I don't trust the other law firms. I'll just tell you. First of all, thank you, and thank you for your testimony, because most people don't say they need more money, and we appreciate your honesty. I feel very strongly, as I think my colleagues do, that it's important, and I want to thank the speaker and everybody who made today's hearing possible for that reason. Just before we get to I have many questions about the funding for what I would call the resolution for 9/11, but also things like FIFA are coming up. Now, that's going to be fast money out the door. That would be something, will you be looking at that as an example of something where you need more staff to pay attention?
We're always looking at any time the city is spending money on an expedited basis or on an emergency basis. Those are always areas where the risk of corruption and waste is often the highest. And so those are areas we do look at.
Okay, FIFA. And then also, are you still working on NYPD monitors? That's something you're still looking for a new head, or has that been secured?
We are in the process of hiring an IG for the NYPD. The position has been posted. We have been reviewing resumes that we have received, and we will begin the interviewing process shortly on that.
Great, congratulations. So obviously we passed a resolution in the city council to have 9/11 information available to the public, and we couldn't find any other way except this wonderful opportunity for DOI to do the work. And I said from the very beginning, no matter what we do, we need you and your team. You're the people you're going to hire, hopefully, with this $4 million or 4.5 to do the work. Because with the only agency they came through, as you know, was the Department of Environmental Protection. And those boxes, I went through some of them. There was some information there, but not exactly what we were looking for. But I appreciate that that happened. And I happen to know that those boxes only came about because the commissioner at the time said, find them. They were lost. They couldn't put them together. And originally people said they couldn't find them. Well, this Article 78 is very interesting. To the credit of the 9/11 Health Watch, they went to court and they won on Article 78 because, and I have great respect for the head of the law department, C. Banks, but his FOIL people said they had no boxes. Well, we know that there are boxes. We know, for instance, that in the archives of a very special reporter who was a friend of all of ours in Texas, we found the letter that was a memo that was sent to Bob Harding. So we know there are boxes. We know there's information. And for whatever reason, the folks at the law department can't find anything, which I don't believe. So my understanding is that the city of New York rarely loses an Article 78 proceeding. In fact, I don't even know there's a prior example of losing one, at least recently in Article 78. But an order of discovery against the city of New York, in addition, regarding an Article 78 is very, very unusual. So I'd love you to comment to see if I'm correct that perhaps the only way to get this information is to do the kind of work that I hope you would be able to do if you get the funding. I just was wondering if you could comment on the Article 78 and the discovery and the fact that this is the only way to get this information.
So I'm not prepared to comment on the Article 78 proceeding, but I will say that as part of its efforts to be prepared to conduct the 9/11 toxins investigation once the funding is secured, that DOI made inquiries of various city agencies that one would expect to have the type of records that would be relevant to the investigation, received responses from those agencies, and so is aware of where the relevant records should be located. And once we have the funding to begin the investigation, the process of fully accessing those records, some of which may be in systems that require technological issues to be addressed because they're old systems, but to compile that information and start to go through it and start to investigate the matter that you all have asked us to. We are ready to get that started, and all we are waiting for is the funding.
Do you have any sense from the company or from past experience how long it might take to do this work?
So I think the initial the initial plan, had we been funded when the council mandated us to conduct this investigation, was to complete it within 2 years. I think that is the timeline we're looking at. Since almost a year of that has gone by now without getting the funding, I think we will need 2 years from when we get the funding. But that is the goal, and I think it's achievable.
Okay. And also just on a sort of an additional issue, I'm concerned about the fact that the FOIL stated, or the FOIL staff stated that they had no records. Do you have any sense, maybe from past experience, why or how we could improve the FOIL system? I know there is at the Department of Records, there's now a dashboard, and there's more information about FOIL in general. But it does seem to me that there needs to be a better system for FOIL. Do you have any sense of how that should work?
I don't have any recommendations right now about FOIL. I can tell you, as when I was in private practice, I filed some FOIL, so I understand the frustration there. And I think that may be an area that DOI can also look into. It's a very important area, of course.
That's what I was trying to hint at, so I appreciate that you have that interest in addition. I think that there are, that this would be a wonderful example if we get the funding, which I hope we will, to state that the Department of Investigation has full capability of doing these, what I would probably be challenging and complicated investigations. This would be an example, and that this is the way that we should be looked at for the future, because there's not only waste and fraud, there's also just better government. I have a feeling, I could be wrong, that there are a whole bunch of boxes and records around the city that are in different warehouses that need to have some kind of organizational improvement, shall we say. And so I'm hoping that in addition to this, that there is that also comes about. I've been in several warehouses recently, and oh my goodness, nobody knows what's exactly there. So I think this would be a good example to try to use for others. And then just finally, I just want to agree with my colleagues saying you need the funding to be able to do the work that you have been assigned. Without the funding, you cannot do it. I have to say that we did, some years ago, steal some of your staff who came to the city council as investigators, and they're fabulous, and attorneys, and they're fabulous. And you train them very well, or your agency trained them very well. So you do need to retain, that's a complicated job to be an investigator, and to do it well is so important. So I'm just here to say we're all going to fight for the money for this particular 9/11. I think that the fact that the Article 78 was won is a perfect example of why we need to do it, because obviously the city has not done their job in terms of responding to the foil. That's a huge win for the 9/11 Health Watch. Thank you very much, and I look forward to making sure that this information is available to the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Joy?
Thank you, Chair, and very nice to meet you, Commissioner, first time. And I think DOI's job is very important, and also the money city spend on DOI should able to recoup from corruptions. For New York City has been, I see the report before, New York City spent roughly $81K per person on homeless services last year. And are you guys doing any investigation on this issue? Is it really need that money? And I do see some developer, they are trying to make money from most vulnerable community. There's a developer's lobbyist personally come to me and saying, well, we give so-and-so this much of money. I see there's corruption there. And a lot of people in New York City have a question mark in their head is why the city spend so much money on every single homeless person. We want to help a homeless person, but why those has such $81,000 a year? It's a median income house family income a year. So it doesn't make sense to most of people how much the city spend the money, how do they spend the money? Is there any corruption there? Is those homeless people really get helped? I just want to get your attention on this issue because it's a lot of people's concern.
Thank you for raising that. It's certainly an area where historically we have investigated and put resources to and issued public reports, including on some of the issues surrounding shelters and issued recommendations on how to improve in those areas. But it's certainly something we've looked at and will continue to look at.
Thank you. And the public really need to trust your work because it's not your appointment. It's not only from the mayor, it's also public trust.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay. I think with that, it concludes actually our budget hearing with DOI and for the day, actually. So I want to thank you so much, Commissioner, for coming out to testify and for your team being here. So Thank you so much, and that concludes our hearing for today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.